Hi, today I will be talking about Erik Erikson. Erikson was born on June 15, 1902, in Germany on a town called Frankfurt. His mother, Carla Abrahamson, was a Danish Jew, and his father is said to be Danish as well. It is said that his parents split before he was born, but others believe that he was the product of an affair. Erikson never met his father. Erikson's mother married Dr. Theodor Homburger when he was about 3 years old, and was told he was his father. It is also said that he was Erikson's pediatrician. Erikson always felt that he didn't fit in the world he lived in. He was tall, blonde blue eyes, very different from everyone in his family and classmates. He was told the truth about his real father later on in life. Erikson suspected Dr. Homburger was not his real father, but the news still affected him, leaving him in a state of confusion of his identity. His highest education degree was the high school diploma. After graduating high school, he traveled around Europe and decided to study art. At the age of 25, he met Sigmund Freud and his daughter Anna Freud after becoming a tutor to a close friend of theirs. Erikson was recognized in being good with kids. His talent was acknowledged by Anna Freud, who later trained him in psychoanalysis. Erikson married Joanne Sorensen and they had 3 children. In 1933, Erikson and his wife moved to the United States because Nazis were taking over Germany. When he came to the United States, he changed his name to Erik Erikson. There are several speculations on the reasons why he changed his last name, but no one really knows the truth. He became the first male child psychoanalyst in Boston. Although he did not have an advanced education, he worked in many universities throughout his years living in the United States, such as Harvard, UC Berkeley, Yale, etc. Having met and worked with the Freud family helped him in starting a career in the United States, but he successfully managed to make a name for himself. The central components of Erik Erikson's theory are that Erikson was a Freudian. Having lived around Freud for many years, he had accepted many of his theories, but he was eventually able to come up with his own ideas. Freud's 5 stages of development had an impact on his 8-stage developmental theory. Although some of his stages were similar to those of Freud's, his focus was on the social factors that affected the self, rather than psychosexual factors. He wanted to focus in identifying the person's identity or purpose in life instead of trying to find the problems that were unresolved during the childhood period, like Freud. He focused more on the ego as opposed to Freud's focus on the ID. Erikson's view on women changed throughout the years away from Freud's view on women. It is said that he changed his views at the beginnings of the women's movements. Erikson grew up in a Jewish environment, but he didn't seem to be devout to a religion. The development of Erikson's personality theory. Erikson believed that we were all influenced culturally and socially. He believed that personality development was an ongoing process from infancy to all the way to old age. Every stage has an influence on the next stage. Failing and completing a stage meant you couldn't go to the next stage, but he believed that it could be fulfilled later on in life. The importance of infancy on Erikson's theory. Infancy is an important stage in Erikson's theory, but it is not the only factor that has an influence in the development of that person's identity. Infancy is as important as adulthood. In this first stage, trust versus mistrust, an infant need to be filled in order to feel a sense of trust. However, Erikson also believed that it was also important to learn mistrust as long as it didn't overshadow the learning of trust. Can personality change? According to Erikson, yes. Erikson was the first to bring up the idea that our personality is not defined in adolescence. His theory opened a new light on the previous thoughts on the personality development. He believed that we are constantly learning in every stage. Therefore, change will continue to happen. What makes Erikson's ideas interesting is that he first came up with the idea that personality development did not stop in the adolescent stage. I find this to be interesting because it gave many people hope that they can change their personality, and hopefully for the better. Another reason it is interesting is because his theory doesn't focus on the extremes of whether you are or not, but instead it focuses on how well you tend to develop these stages in your life. The impact of theory of Erikson's upbringing. The fact that Erikson never felt like he belonged in his family and in his community was important in the development of the identity crisis. The identity crisis is introduced in the adolescent stage, and I believe this is around the age where he was told the truth about his real father. This is why this is an important stage in his developmental theory. Now, what would Erikson's theory say about me? According to Erikson's theory of personality, I would be in the young adult stage, intimacy versus isolation. This theory would say that I'm finding my way in creating important relationships that will last the rest of my life. He would also say that I will be a more selective person in finding friends and relational partners. Now, Erikson would say that I am a hopeful person who has the willpower to create a purpose in life. He would also say that I am a competent person who is able to create friendships and relationships that will last the rest of my life. Now, what would he say about my brother? My brother is in the adolescent identity versus identity confusion stage. This is a time where he is still trying to identify himself and where the previous stages would have an influence on his decision. Erikson would say about my brother, his personality, that he is a hopeful person and someone who has a strong willpower. He would also say that he is true to himself and others. He also would say that he has the confidence to figure out who he is and what he wants to pursue in life. Erikson versus Freud. Erikson's theory has 8 stages, and Freud's theory has 5 stages. The 8 stages of Erikson focus on cultural and social ideas, and Erikson's 5 stages focused on psychosexual ideas. Erikson believed personality is a never-ending process, and Freud believed that personality was set by adolescence. Erikson versus Skinner. Erikson was a psychoanalyst. He focused on the development of personality. His developmental theory does not have a specific solution. Rather, it is an approximate measure. This idea is more philosophical rather than scientific. Skinner was a behaviorist. He is known for operant conditioning and the development of the free operant chambers, also known as the Skinner box. Skinner's ideas are more scientific. The impact of Erik Erikson. Developmental theory has impacted the way we now view the development of personality. Open possibility that personality is a continuous changing process, and research done on the Lakota and the Eurotribes based on child rearing.